Good evening, study partners. Tonight we are going to be learning the fourth and final chapter in Masechtas Taanis. Tonight's class is dedicated in loving memory of my dear mother, Rivka Bas Harav Reb Shloimeh. The Mishnah begins, Mishnah Aleph. B'shloisha frokim bashana, 3 different times in the year, Kohanim noisin eskapeyem arba pa'amim bayim. The Kohanim will raise their hands in blessing 4 times. So this happens in 3 different types of occasions. Now, it should be noted that there are various customs when it comes to Berchas Kohanim. The Ashkenazic custom is that we only have what we call duchening in local colloquial terms. Duchening, Berchas Kohanim only takes place on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, Pesach, and Shavuos. That's it in the diaspora. In Israel, in the Chabad communities, this is done every Shabbos. By the Sephardim, it's done every day, even in the diaspora. So there are various degrees of the various customs when it comes to the priestly blessings. However, when the Mishnah here talks about 3 different times in which the Kohanim would not only bless once in a single day, but up to 4 times in a day. And we're going to go through them. And these are 3 different types of occasions. The Shachris, so first we're going to say when during the day. During the Shachris, the morning prayers. We just did this yesterday. Yesterday was Simchas Torah. So we move it from Musaf to Shachris, because we're concerned that the Kohanim are going to drink, and a Kohen who has drunk wine cannot perform the priestly blessings. The Musaf, and the Musaf, B'mincha, U'b'nilas Sharim, and during the Ne'ilah prayer. So there's 3 times during the year, or 3 types of times, that this can take place. The Taanis, general fasts that are decreed. We've been talking about these types of fasts in the entire tractate here. Fasts that are instituted because of a lack of rain or for another calamity, God forbid. Uba ma'amodes, and for ma'amodos, we're going to talk about in the next Mishnah what exactly the ma'amodos are and what their significance is. Uba Yom Kippurim and on Yom Kippur. Now, we mentioned before the concern for Kohanim to be drinking. So on a regular Kohen who has drank wine cannot perform these duties. Now, on a fast day, we're not concerned. So, for example, our custom today is in the morning we say the Berchas Kohanim. We don't have the Kohen do it, the Chazan does it in his stead. On a fast day, we have them recited at Mincha as well, because, again, we're not concerned about the drinking issue. So, to commemorate this, we will recite the Berchas Kohanim in the repetition of the Shemona Esrei in Mincha as well. You have a question?
Yes. So why would the Kohanim not do the Birkas Kohanim as opposed to just the Shaliach Tzibur?
Why don't they do it?
Yeah.
Again, there's different customs. We have the custom is that we have the Shnech Tzibur take his stead. We're not in temple times here. This is not the Beis HaMikdash. This is somewhat of a reenactment. So, being that that's the case, so we have different customs. And again, in different places, for example, like I said, the Sephardim, if you go to the Sephardic center and there's a Kohen, they'll do Berchas Kohanim on a regular day, on any day. I was just at a bris, a Sephardic bris, and they had it was on Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, and they had by Shachris and by Musaf, the Berchas Kohanim, the full deal. And Yom Kippur. So, of course, on Yom Kippur, so on these days, the point is on these days is that in addition to Musaf prayers, we also have Ne'ilah prayers on these days. And so therefore we have 4 opportunities for the Kohanim to bless the people.
I have a question. In Chazar Sashatz, in our tefillah, we have kind of sort of like a blessing.
Right.
Is that similar or ties into the timelines that...
It's exactly the same thing. It's the same idea. On Yom Kippur, for example, our custom is to only have once a day maximum. That's our custom. So on Yom Kippur in the morning, by Musaf, we have Berchas Kohanim. In the morning, we have the Chazan take his stead. By Mincha and by Ne'ilah, the Chazan will do it as well. Again, there's no issue of drinking. It's Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
So when the Kohanim would be drinking, the Chazan doesn't do it. Which is any day, any Shabbos after Musaf, or any day after Shachris. So now, what are Maimodis? Before we go into the next Mishnah, so we said there's 3 types of times. The Taanis, any fast day that's instituted for calamities, Maimodis, and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, we all know what it is. What's Maimodis? So, the next Mishnah, and again, we're going to do it inside in a moment. I just want to give you a general introduction to it. The next Mishnah tells us that we have Tomit Shel Shachris and the Tomit Shel Ben Arbayim. Every day there were 2 lambs that were brought in the Holy Beis HaMikdash on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael. Now, generally speaking, when you offer a korban, a sacrifice, you're there. And there's a process to it. There's a process. You put your hands down on it, you confess your sins, or whatever the case is for the particular offering. But
Talk about the korban tobin?
any korban, you're supposed to be there. That's the best way of doing it. That's the best way of bringing a sacrifice. You're there, you're present. So now, the Tomit Shel Shachris, the Tomit Shel Ben Arbayim, the 2 offerings that were brought every day on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael. So the question is but we're not there. Even in temple times, wherever we live. We live in Kfar Chabad, we live in Tel Aviv, we live in Yerushalayim, but we can't, it's not realistic for all the Bnei Yisrael to be there in the morning and the afternoon every day. So what do? They established, the Nevi'im Rishonim established substitutes, designees, appointees, who would come on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael. And these were the people who are representing the Bnei Yisrael. So they had ones in Yerushalayim and they had ones in the cities. And they would act in a special way on those days, as we're going to describe. Just like a person who brought a korban, you don't just bring a korban and it's nilly-willy. It's a serious time. A person should imagine that he himself could be brought as a sacrifice, just like Yitzchak. And this is in his stead. It's a serious thing. It's not something that's taken loosely and lightly. And so therefore we have representatives. So Elohim Hein Mamodis. So these are the Mamodis. These representatives were Kohanim, Levim, and Yisraelim. Yeah, you're going to see. Let's learn the Mishnah. It's going to clarify a lot. I just want to give a general introduction. Elohim Mamodis. These are the Mamodis. Maimud means to stand in. These are our stand-ins. Lefi shenemar, because it said.
These stand-ins coming to the base of it.
Listen to the Mishnah, and after the Mishnah, you'll ask your questions. Lefi shenemar, because it says in the pasuk, Tzaves b'nei Yisrael, command the b'nei Yisrael, v'amarta aliyim, and tell them, es korbani lachmi, my sacrifice, my bread, you shall bring every day, says the pasuk. Now, how can it be that a person, meaning to say the Bnei Yisrael, is bringing a korban and they're not there standing when it's being offered? So hiskinu nevi'im arishonim. So the early prophets established esrim v'arba mishmoris. There are 24 watches. We have already spoken about these watches. These are the watches of the Kohanim. Al kol mishmor hayamaymed b'Yerushalayim. For each one of these watches of priests, of Kohanim, there was a group in Yerushalayim of Kohanim, Shel Levim, and Shel Yisraelim. Now, Higiyaz man ha-mishmar la'ales, when it came time for the mishmar, the watch, to go up to the Beis Hamikdash and serve. Kohanim uLevim olam Yerushalayim. So the Kohanim and the Levim, they would go up to Yerushalayim into the Beis Hamikdash to actually serve. The Kohanim would serve in the temple, and the Levim would accompany them with song and with music and so on and so forth. The Yisraelim. Now, each watch had also Israelites attached to them, associated with them. The Yisrael Shabbat Mishmar, and the Israelites that were part of that watch, Miskansin la'areim. So there were some that were in Yerushalayim, there were some that were in their various
the Israelites
cities.
Would work inside the Beis Hamikdash?
They wouldn't work. They would represent. And we'll show you how they represented. Miskansin la'areim, the Kedem Ma'aseh V'Reishis, and in order to get them into the proper mood of the day, this is a serious time, they would read from the story of creation, just like we're reading now in Parshas Bereshis. Now, the Anshe HaMaimed, the people who are called the Anshe Maimed, the men of the Maimed, the men of
Consistency?
not consistency, but of the watch, of the representatives. So we already spoke about the idea that each Mishmar lasted for how long? 1 week. So the Yisraelim, who were representatives of the Bnei Yisrael during this week, they would fast for 4 days that week. From Monday through Thursday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days. Now, the watch was a whole week. So why didn't they? On Shabbos, of course, we understand you can't fast. So they wouldn't fast even Erev Shabbos, as an honor to Shabbos. First of all, before Shabbos, we taste some of the delicacies before Shabbos. And if you come into Shabbos after having fasted, you're not feeling the greatest. So in honor of Shabbos, we suspend the fast for them.
Regain your energy.
Yeah, then you're eating to regain your energy as opposed to pleasure.
Yeah.
In addition, we don't fast on Sunday. They wouldn't fast. Because you're coming from Shabbos, which is menucha and einig, from rest and pleasure, the yigia to toil, to working, v'sainus, and fasting. The yamuso, literally this means then they would die, but it's not the intention here. It means then they would become faint. You're coming from big feasting to all of a sudden fasting at the extreme. It doesn't actually mean that they would die. We're not concerned that they would actually die. Listen, when we have Tisha B'Av coming in after Shabbos, we fast. We have Shabbos Taanis coming in after Shabbos, we fast, and so on and so forth. There's many examples of this. So we're not actually concerned that they will die, but this is not the ideal time for people to be fasting.
Each Mishmar
And
would
Rav and the Gemara.
Each Mishmar, the Israelites would fast.
I'm sorry?
Each Mishmar.
During their week. So yeah. There were 24 weeks. So once in 24 weeks, the people, the representatives would fast for 4 days during that week. There are going to be some exemptions. Now, Rav cites two of the Gemara's reasons. One was, since Adam was created on which day of the week?
Friday, Erev Shabbos.
Erev Shabbos, Friday. So on the third day is the weakest, just like in the story of Shem, after he was created. So we're not the strongest on Sunday. Another one is on Shabbos. Another reason we have is on Shabbos, we have a Neshama Yisera, an extra soul, a special holy soul, a deeper dimension of our soul. And that leaves us, Matzi Shabbos, we're not really prepared. So losing this extra Neshama that we have on Shabbos and going straight into fasting is not an ideal circumstance. And so Sundays and Fridays they were off. Monday through Thursday they would fast, morning to night.
Interesting.
And each Mishmar would take turns.
They would take turns once in 24 weeks. But Yom Rishon on Sunday. Now it's important to note, as we're going to explain here, that even though they weren't fasting, they were still representatives of the Bnei Yisrael.
Who's on base?
The Mamodes, the Anshe Mamodes, the people, the representatives are still representing. They may not be fasting, but they're still representing. So by Yom Rishon on the first day of the week, on Sunday, they would read Bereshis, Yerakia. They would read the first section of Bereshis, let there be a firmament, V'yikavu Amayim, and Basheni Yerakia. Let there be a firmament and the waters gather together. On the third day, the waters gathered. And there should be luminaries. In other words, every day they would read the creation of that day.
So not all the Israelis fasted.
Not all the Israelites, only the Anshe Mishmar. Only special designated representatives. They're Congress members, if you will. Not actual, but I'm just saying those who were the representatives, not everybody. Each day they would read the creation of that day. Those who were fasting, correct.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
Mitch, we're gonna send you up to be the fasting.
I would love to.
Be ready to
Honor,
listen to
basically,
this
good.
podcast.
And on Yom Shishi, Teitza Haaretz,
Right now.
and Vaychulu Hashamayim. The Vaychulu Hashamayim, of course, we all know it's from. We say it in Kiddush, and we say it in the davening.
Kabbalah Shabbos.
So that's what they would read. Parshim G'dei L'Keinu Mesim Mishnayim. 5 psukim or more would be read by 2 people. If there's 5 psukim, first person gets 3 psukim, and then the last person repeats the third pasuk from the first one, and they split it up again. So in other words, like on a fast day, like we have not on a fast day, on Rosh Chodesh, we repeat the third pasuk.
Yeah, because you need to have.
Because you need to have a minimum of 3 psukim. Vaktana b'yachid. And a small portion of just a few, if it was just a few verses in this aliyah, then one person reads it. Now this was done by Shachris uva Mosif. This was done by Shachris and by Mosif.
And Mincha.
Hold on. Uva Mincha, Kama. Uva Mincha, and by Mincha, Nechnasim v'kenim al piyim. They would come in to Mincha, the Mincha prayers, into the shul, and they would read it by heart. They wouldn't actually open up the Torah. Kakein Shema, like a person who reads Shema. You don't read Shema from a Sefer Torah. You read it by heart, especially in those days they didn't have Siddurim. Erev Shabbos Mincha lo yayu nechnasim. Erev Shabbos at Mincha they did not go to shul. Nikveda Shabbos. Here we're getting ready for Shabbos and we're already singing Yedid Nefesh and it's a festive mood. Here comes in the fasters who are going to come in and they're still fasting and reading parts of Bereshis which are which are associated with the fast day.
Can you bring in
So
that pressure?
we're not looking for depressed atmosphere. This is Erev Shabbos. So in honor of Shabbos, they wouldn't do this in shul. Kol yom sheyesh bo halal. Any day that we recite halal. For example, when do we recite halal? Chanukah, Yom Tov, or whatever it is. Rosh Chodesh. Kol yom sheyesh bo halal. Any day that there's halal, ein bo maimed b'shachris. There's no maimed activities going on in Shachris. So they don't do any of the reading. Why? We're saying Hallel, and Hallel is festive, and this is somewhat somber. Korban Musaf. If there was a Korban Musaf being brought, which is Rosh Chodesh, is already a Rosh Chodesh, Ein by Ne'ilah. So they would not have, they wouldn't
They wouldn't do the fasting stuff by the Ne'ilah.
by Ne'ilah. Korban Eitzim, if they were bringing a Korban Eitzim, which is a wood offering.
It's a what offering?
Wood offering. Wood.
Like a
W-O-O-D.
supply?
So wood supply, yeah. A person could offer in the Beis HaMikdash not only an animal, not only flour,
Supplies.
but he could offer supplies. But Eitzim was considered like a korban, an offering. As the Mishnah tells us, if a person says, I'm going to bring wood, he has to bring at least 2 logs of wood.
Is that like a carbon toda?
It's like a carbon toida in the sense that it's a carbon, but it's not a carbon toida. It's just a carbon of wood. It's a supply carbon. It's a dedication. It's an offering.
Is that like the type of carbonates that non-Jewish people could bring? Remember there was like a specific setup for them?
I believe that we don't generally like to accept carbon eitzim from goyim. I'll have to double check on that. Carbon eitzim ein by mincha. So if we have the carbon eitzim, if there was a family, we're going to get into who's bringing what and when. If there was a family bringing carbon eitzim during that time, ein by mincha, so they wouldn't have the mamodis practices at mincha. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. This is what Rabbi Akiva initially said. Omer le ben Azai. Ben Azai said to him, Kol Chayo Rabbi Yeshua Sheina. Rabbi Yeshua taught the following. Korban Musaf, if there was a Korban Musaf, Ein Boy by Mincha, they wouldn't have Mamodes practices at Mincha. Korban Eitzim, Ein Boy by Ne'ilah. If there was a Korban Eitzim brought, then it wasn't performed at Ne'ilah. Chazor Rabbi Akiva Liyas Sheina Keben Azai. Rabbi Akiva changed his mind, and based on the testimony of Azai, of Ben Azai, who learned from Rabbi Yeshua. So he stood corrected, as they say, and he started to teach like Rabbi Azai, Ben Azai said. Zman Atzikoyanim Va'am Tisha. There was 7 times that there were wood festivals. We just said that there was Korban festivals. When Korban Eitzim. When were these Korban Eitzims brought? And by whom? So it was brought by Kohanim, Leviim, and Yisraelim. Now, mainly from Yehuda and Binyamin. Most of the others were jumbled and lost. So we're going to see all of these are going to come from different families, either Kohanic families or families from these tribes. The Echad ben Nisan, on the first day of Nisan, Bnei Orach ben Yehuda, the family of Orach from the tribe of Yehuda, they brought supply. The Esrim b'Tammuz, so this went from the first of Nisan all the way till the Esrim of Tammuz, to the 20th of Tammuz. Now, Esrim b'Tammuz, Bnei David ben Yehuda, came the Bnei David family from Yehuda. B'Chamisha b'Av, which is not that far off, Bnei Farish ben Yehuda. That was on the 5th of Av. B'Shivavoy, on the 7th of Av, 2 days later, we had another one. See, so they're not amortized evenly throughout the year. Bnei Yenadav ben Rechav, the family of Yenadav ben Rechav would bring. B'Asaraboy on the 10th of Av, Bnei Sna ben Binyamin. B'Chamisha Asarboy on the 15th day, Ben Zatu ben Yehuda. The Imahim Koyanim Uleviim V'chol Mishatov B'Shiftei. Among this Zatu ben Yehuda donation would come anybody else who wanted to bring, didn't know which family he was associated with, he didn't know where. Anyone else could come then. And the pestle smugglers and the fig cutters, they would bring. Now, what does this mean? So at one point, people were prevented from bringing bikurim. They stationed guards, and they wouldn't let people come bring bikurim to Yerushalayim. They wanted to stop this practice. And in any case, so who wanted to stop? The people who wanted to set up the people who wanted the overlords, the foreign protzim, the foreign authorities who took root in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael. They wanted the Yidden to go bring bikurim, so they set up checkpoints and they wouldn't let people go through with bikurim. So what are these people
is it like
do?
to prevent a tax, like a taxation,
No,
or just because?
Just because.
Oh, wow.
I know that Shlomo Melech tax.
So what do they do?
They had Sherman on the pathway.
They had Shemim on the pathways. So what they do? The people would put pestles, and they would employ all sorts of gimmicks to hide the bikurim. And when they would check their bags, at the checkpoints, they wouldn't see the bikurim. And so they would smuggle things through in order to bring bikurim to the. So those people also would bring wood offerings with them. The Esrim Boy, on the 20th of Av, Bnei Pachas Moya ben Yehuda. This is the Pachas family. Pachas Moya family. Av Esrim Elul, on the 20th of Elul, Bnei Odin ben Yehuda was Bnei Odin of Yehuda. Be'echad b'Tevis, and on the 1st of Tevis, Shavu Bnei Farish Shniya, the Farish family would come a second time. So they gave 2 times during the year. Be'echad b'Tevis, on the first of Teves. Lo Yahavai Maimed. There was no Maimed. Who can guess why? There was no Maimed on the first day of Teves. Because it was Chanukah. Sheyavei Halal, the carbon Musaf, the carbon Eitzim, and because of that, so all Shachris, Mincha, Neila, Musaf, Neila, Musaf, Shachris Musaf, Mincha, and Neila, all of those were suspended, so there were no Maimid practices on the first day of Tevis. It was Halal, it was all the exemptions together.
There's no wood.
No, not there was no
Not the
wood.
wood.
They brought
We're
wood.
talking about the
You
Mamre.
could bring wood. You could bring wood.
No, the Mamre.
The Maimid practices, Maimid,
Oh, the
Maimid.
wood, you're not forget about the wood. All right, my mistake. All right.
All right.
Chamisha.
Vav. Chamisha dvarim eiru asav esinu b'shivasa b'tammuz. We mentioned before fast days. 5 incidents happened to the Bnei Yisrael on Shavasar b'tammuz. Chamisha b'tisha b'av and 5 on Tisha b'av. B'shivasa b'tammuz, which is a fast that we fast until today. It starts the 3 weeks. Yishtabru haluches. The luches were broken. That was the day that Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain and saw the Yidden engaged in the Egel, worshipping the Egel, and he smashed the luches. That was on Shavasar b'tammuz. Uvatal Tomid, and the Tomid was discontinued. This happened on Shavasar b'tammuz. Once there was a siege on Yerushalayim, when there was a siege in Yerushalayim, they would drop down gold coins every day over the wall, and the shepherds would send up sheep, lambs every day. And one of the old men there suggested that one day, when the coins came down, instead of sending up lambs, they sent up a pig. And legend has it the pig put its claws onto the wall, and the whole Yerushalayim shook. So that took place in Shavasar b'tammuz, and that's when the carbon Tamid stopped. And the city was breached on Shavasar b'tammuz. Besorav apoistemois esatera. Apoistemois burnt the Torah that was in the Heichel. This was from Ezra. This was considered a very authentic Torah, meaning to say that it was spot checked by Ezra himself to be perfect. And that was other Torahs were checked for accuracy at this Torah. And they placed an image in the Heichel. So these are the things that happened on Shavasar b'tammuz. B'tisha b'av nigzan alav yiseinu shali konsul aretz. On Tisha b'av, it was decreed that was the day that the Meraglim came and gave a bad report, and the Jewish people were crying that whole night. That was the night of Tisha b'av. Hashem decreed on that day that they will not go into Eretz Yisrael. All those people would die in the Midbar. And the first Beis HaMikdash and the second Beis HaMikdash were destroyed. Benilka the Beitar, and Beitar was conquered on Tisha B'Av. And the city was plowed under. Micha's prophecy was that it would be like a barren field, and that's what it was. The whole place was all plowed. The Mishnah concludes with a somber message. When Av enters, Memaitin B'Simcha, we diminish with our joy. Shabbos Shechol Tisha B'Av Liyes B'Seicha, the week that the Shabbos, that Tisha B'Av falls in. So let's say Tisha B'Av falls on a Wednesday, for example. So from Sunday until Wednesday, Osem L'Saper U'Melekabes, one is prohibited from cutting their hair and from laundering their clothing. Uvechamishi mitorin, but let's say it's on Shabbos, or if it's on Friday, Tisha B'Av. In the olden days, it could have been on Tisha B'Av.
Wednesday, you can.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you can. But Thursday, they would allow preparations for Shabbos, so that you can come into Shabbos looking like a mensch. Shabbos, so that for the honor of Shabbos. Erev Tisha B'Av, on Erev Tisha B'Av, on the eve of Tisha B'Av, right before Tisha B'Av, talking about the last meal. Lo yechel adam shnei tafshilin, a person should not eat 2 cooked dishes. Lo yechel basar, he shouldn't eat meat at this meal. Lo yishtayoyin, and he should not drink wine at this meal. in our days, actually, this rule has actually been extended. For Ashkenazim, we don't eat meat and drink wine from the beginning of Rosh Chodesh Av, except on Shabbos. For Sephardim, during that week, the week that it falls in, they don't eat the whole week, not just on the last meal before Tisha B'Av. They don't eat meat, we don't eat meat, and we don't drink wine. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, Yeshana, it's not necessary for a person to not have two cooked dishes, but rather he should just change up what his normal routine is, make some sort of variance, and the rule is not like him. Rabbi Yehuda is that only in the week that Tisha B'Av actually falls do they refrain from eating meat and drinking wine. Rabbi Yehuda mechayev mechviyas amita. Rabbi Yehuda requires turning over of the beds. You take your bed and you turn it over.
Nobody says.
We don't do
put
that.
it on the floor.
What?
It says in the translations of the Bartanur, it says chivas amita is to put it on the floor.
Yeah,
actually,
and we don't do it.
Your whole.
We don't do it. And the sages do not agree with him. They don't agree that you turn over your bed. Rather, in actual practice, we keep our beds intact, but it's appropriate to just make some sort of shinui. If you usually have two pillows, go to one pillow or something.
Wow, interesting.
Some sort of gesture. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon, so we go from all this somber talk. We don't want to end on especially we're coming close to the end of the Masechta. We want to bring it back up. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says, there were no great holidays as festive amongst the Yidden like the 15th day of Av and Yom Kippur. What happened on Chamisha Basar B'Av? Yom Kippur, we already know what happened. We learned the whole Masechta there. But on Chamisha Basar B'Av, what happened? They would go out, all the daughters of the Israel, the unmarried girls would go out in white clothing that were borrowed.
Not Tisha B'Av, but
Chamisha Basar B'Av.
Oh, is that the thing where something borrows something blue?
So they would borrow things. Why would they do this? So even the rich ones would borrow, so that nobody would feel inferior, like, oh, I have to come out and dance and somebody else's. Everybody would borrow.
Interesting.
Even the king's daughters would borrow.
So you borrow from the king's daughters.
No one borrowed from the king's daughters. King's daughters would borrow from the daughters of the Kohanim Gedolim, and so on and so forth. They would go, and then most of the common folk would borrow from each other. In order not to embarrass somebody who doesn't have. So everybody is wearing borrowed clothing. In those days, people were careful with tum and tara. We're not going to get into all the reasons, but they were concerned with purity, with ritual purity. So regardless of who you borrowed from, you would tovel the garment so that it would be pure. They would go out and dance in the vineyards. Today they would make a macha about something like this. And what would they say? The girls, the unmarried girls. And what would they say? Bacher, young man, unmarried men, sana einecha, cast your eyes. See what you're choosing.
I'm going there.
It was speed dating, the first speed dating. You're married already, bud. So they would say different things. They say different things. Yeah, your wife was listening. Don't cast your eyes on beauty, on physical beauty. So the first ones would say, cast your eyes on the beauty.
The first one to be the first woman.
The beautiful women would say, look at the beauty.
Yes.
The ones who weren't so beautiful, but they came from
Good
good mishpacha,
Good yichus.
so they good yichus, they would say, don't look at the beauty, look at the mishpacha, good family, good upbringing is likely to bring up a good family, be a good wife. Sheker achein v'hevla yefi. Grace is false, and beauty is vain. Isha yiras Hashem hi tisalal. So this was said by the who would say this? The ones who were not pretty and didn't have good family. Don't look at external things. These are all external. And that's the truth. What's the real thing? What's inside? So they would say, Sheker Achein, Ve'avla Yefi, all of these things. Shmacha, don't worry about it. Look at a woman who is a God-fearing woman. She's the one who should be praised. Like Shlomo HaMelech says, Tnu la mipri yadeha, give her of the fruits of your hands, Bi'alo v'asher ma'aseh, and praise her work. And praised in the gates is her work, is her deeds. And also says, Tzena Rena, Tzena Urena, go forth and gaze. The daughters of Tzion on the Melech Shlomo. This is a parable for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. To the Yidden, the Bnei Tzion are the Yidden, and the Melech Shlomo is a reference to Hashem. On the crown that his mother gave him on the day of his wedding. On the day of his heart's gladness. When is this day? The day of his wedding. What is this all we're talking about? What is all this cryptic language? Zay Matan Torah, this is the day Hashem was the Chosin, and the Bnei Yisrael was the Kala. So, V'yem Simchas Liboy, in the day of the gladness of his heart, what is this talking about? Ze Binyan Beis HaMikdash. This is talking about the day that the Beis HaMikdash was built. Sheyibone b'mheira v'yameinu. May the holy Beis HaMikdash be built in our days speedily. Amen. Nishlam Masechtas Taanis. We have completed Masechtas Taanis. Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Please join us next week, Wednesday at 8:30. Once again, we're going to be starting a new tractate, Masechtas Megillah, which talks about Purim and the laws of reading the Megillah. Have a very good evening.